I have been a fan of ultra-wide angle lenses ever since I entered the content creator space, and I started with the A6400 and the Sony 10 to 18 millimeters. Then when I switched to the A7S3, my main vlogging lens became the Tamron 17 to 28 f2.8 lens. I then switched to the Tamron 20 to 40 millimeter, then the 16 to 35 G Master 2 from Sony, which I thought was the perfect lens except for that it was still heavy for me for traveling with my family. So I sold the 16 to 35. I got the lens that I'm using right now, which is the Sony 20mm f1.8 lens, which is my go-to travel lens and my go-to wide angle lens until this came out. This is the Sony 16 to 25 f2.8 G lens. And since I realized that in my 16 to 35, I used the 16mm more than any other focal lengths, and that I find myself sometimes wanting a wider focal length when using my 20mm f1.8, I figured might as well try this lens and see if this could replace the Sony 20mm f1.8 lens. So I'm going to compare these two lenses in a couple of tests, like the focal length, how wide it is having that extra 4mm on the wide end and the 5mm on the long end an advantage when it comes, ooh, blazing sun. Will that be a big deal when it comes to focal length when it comes to traveling? And is an f1.8 really much better than an f2.8 when it comes to bokeh, depth of field, or low light situations? Whew, the lighting right now is all over the place. All right, so for the first test, we will do handheld vlogging. So first I will do vlogging with just holding the camera and the lens, and then I will do one with a mini tripod. And we will see the difference in focal length of vlogging on a 20mm and vlogging on a 16mm. For the no tripod vlogging, I will vlog both in this length, this with slightly bent and with arms stretched out. All right, I will start with the 20mm f1.8 lens. All right, so I am now vlogging using the 20mm f1.8, and I'm using active steady shots. So this has a crop to it, I think 1.1 if I believe. So I am holding it with my elbows bent, and this is the focal length or the field of view that you will get with the 20mm f1.8 with no tripod and with my elbows bent while vlogging. Now this is the field of view if you vlog with your arms stretched out using the 20mm f1.8 lens. More space, more things you can see, more of the background, but again I'm using it at 1.8, so this is with a blurred background. So I'm going to try this time with the tripod or the mini tripod, the PGYTech Mantis Pod. All right, I'm now using the PGYTech Mantis Pod, and my arms are still close to my body. My elbow is close to my body, and I don't have to hold my hand that high up because of the extra height that the tripod gives me. So it may be an advantage because you don't have to put your hand up high, but there's extra weight because the tripod has extra weight. So this is like, if I show you my elbows, how I hold it, it's like this, right? With a tripod, this is how I'm holding it. And if I stretch out my arm with a mini tripod, it's this. So again, I don't have to hold my hand up that high as opposed to if I don't have a tripod. But yeah, that's the 20mm f1.8. This is the background blur that you will get, the shallow depth of field when using this. If you want that effect, if you like that look, this is what you'll get. Let's now switch to the 16 to to 25. All right, so I am now vlogging with the 16 to 25 millimeter f2.8 lens from Sony. I'm at 16 millimeters and I am holding it again, just with the camera and the lens, with my elbows bent. So I'm going to put this side by side with the image of the Sony 20mm f1.8 and compare the field of view of the two focal lengths. And of course, you could also compare the background blur, because the 16 to 25 just goes up to f2.8 while the Sony 20mm goes up to f1.8. Both of these tests are done with active steady shot enabled, and now I'm going to stretch my arm out, just like what I did with the 20mm f1.8, and this is the difference between the field of view of this lens and the 20 millimeters. And compare the bokeh, the background blur of the two lenses. Alright, so now I am vlogging with a 16 to 25 with the mini tripod, the PGYTech Mantis Pod. So this is, I think, the most comfortable setup I've used among all the setups that I'm doing right now. I am not putting my arm or my hand that high up. As you can see, again, my elbows are kind of clipped, but because of the extra height, you know, I get the shot that I want. So I think this is my favorite setup out of everything, because although it is wide, even when I use just my hands straight to the camera or the lens, I need to put my hands up high. So yeah, I think I don't mind the extra weight as long as I don't have to put my hand up. And this is how it looks like if I stretch my hands out wide or far out. Yeah, again, comparing it to the 20 millimeters f1.8 lens. Alright, now when it comes to the comparison of the low light capabilities of both the 20 millimeters and the 16 to 25, as you can see, they're approximately exposed the same way right now. Everything is the same except for the aperture. This is at 1.8, this is at 2.8 because it's the widest it can go. But to compensate for that, the ISO of the 16 to 25 is at ISO 400, and the ISO of the 20 millimeter camera is 20 millimeter lens on this camera is ISO 160. So if I'm going to put this camera that has a 16 to 25 lens down to 160 as well, it can't go down to 160. The A7CR can just go down to ISO 200, but look at it. It's already very, very dark compared to this camera, the ZV-E1, with the 20 millimeter f1.8 lens. So in order to make them properly exposed the same way, it has to be 400 here, 160 here, or probably even 500. Yeah, it's that how many stops of light. I don't know exactly how, not that technical. I'll put it here to show you how many stops of light is the difference of f1.8 to f2.8. Also, again, comparing the bokeh or the shallow depth of field, this is how shallow the depth of field is on an f2.8 lens, and this is the shallow depth of field of an f1.8 lens. As you can see, it's more blurred, more creamy. I am more isolated in this shot than this shot. Some would say it's a wider focal length, 16. Let's put it at 20. Now both are at 20, f2.8, f1.8. As you can see, this lens is still more blurred than this lens. So now let me just show you some sample footages from both lenses. defeated? Don't you wanna be defeated? That's the minimum focusing distance of this lens. So I don't know how far that. Alright, so after trying out the 16-25 and the 20mm f1.8 lens here in the farm in our mini vacation, to be honest, I still do not know which one of these will I keep. I mean, I don't think it makes sense for me to keep both because they're both ultra wide angles. If it's just the focal length, I would go with the 16-25 because I really like that wide angle that it gives. Similar to what I used before, the Tamron 17-28. It's really more comfortable for vlogging for me. I use a 20mm when I vlog, when we go on family trips outside of the country. It's doable. It's just a little bit tight, but I must say the bokeh, or the depth of field, the shallow depth of field, is very creamy. It's very beautiful in the 1.8 versus the 2.8. So I think I'm going to do more tests. But if you are already set on which you prioritize, one of those, is it the focal length or probably the focal range, because you can go from 16-25 with this lens. Here, you're stuck with 20mm. Then you probably go with this. If you like a wider angle than 20, go with this. If you like that bokeh-licious image, then go with a 20mm f1.8. One thing is for sure though, you can't go wrong with any of these. These are amazing lenses. I'm sorry, but I really can't give a conclusion right now on which I will keep. Probably in a month, I'll revisit this and then decide which one I will keep. So thank you for watching this video of a comparison of the 16-25 with a 20mm f1.8 lens. And if you want to watch more videos about gear I use in content creation, please do check out my other videos here.